Body mass. After the age of 30, people will find due to sarcopenia, muscle mass will be lost rapidly, as I have already made you aware of. This then will change their body mass, with even active people able to lose 3 to 5% muscle mass per decade, making people's body mass decrease. For inactive people, however, combating against this weight loss is the demise of the body's metabolic system, which also can be linked to the loss of the skeletal muscle. This is because when the body has less muscle, the body isn't required to burn off as much energy as there is less muscle to be energized. This then means that people's diets that have been maintaining their steady weight will now be making them put on weight, as they don't require as much food to run their lesser bodies. An example of this would be John Barnes, an ex-Liverpool Football Club legend. Once an athlete, is now severely overweight, as he could have had to hit a certain amount of calories a day to get the required energy to train and perform at the best of his abilities. To prevent this from happening, many athletes keep exercising to stimulate his muscle, as they try and reduce the amount of muscle that will be lost with age, as it will also maintain a reasonably fast metabolic system staying healthy. Towards the end of a career, maintaining a healthy weight starts to prove to be more challenging, giving the younger generation an advantage, as they wouldn't have to spend as much time on their cardiovascular endurance and more on their skills, giving them the upper hand. HGH and testosterone. Looking at testosterone levels throughout teenage years, it is clear to see that the peak amount of testosterone is received between ages 15 and 18 for men and women, before it starts to reduce after reaching 19 years of age. This then gives the advantage to 18-year-olds when competing against older adults, as they are shown to have a lesser supply of testosterone. This is an advantage because testosterone is an anabolic hormone in which allows the body to put on muscle easier, giving the athletes the upper hand with a leaner body against the older generation, who wouldn't be able to put on as much muscle in preparation to compete. Using football as an example, a younger 18-year-old may find that he is physically superior to his older opponents, allowing him to dominate in possession, as he will be able to easily tackle and hold off other opponents. Now looking at the human growth hormone, or HGH hormone, similar to testosterone levels, peaks in athletes' late teens. This hormone gives further advantages against the older generation, as it allows them to recover from injuries much quicker than older athletes. This then will make a smaller impact on the team if they get injured, because the situation won't last for a long time, whereas if an older person on the team gets injured, it will create a much more significant impact for the team, as it will take a longer period of time to come match ready again. Effects on the respiratory system due to aging. Respiratory muscle strength decreases with age and can impair effective coughs, which is important for airway clearance. The lungs mature by the age of 20 to 25, and therefore aging is associated with progressive decline in function. This means that an older person's tidal volume will decline over time, making their breathing rate, on the other hand, increase to get the required oxygen into the body and the bloodstream. This means that when performing and actually requiring even more oxygen, breathing rates will have to increase dramatically to be able to sustain an aerobic rate that the athlete is competing at. To try and reduce this demise, many athletes use equipment like power breaths to sustain or even increase their tidal volume, in which will then decrease their breathing rate during exercise. A high breathing rate can be considered as a bad thing when exercising because there is more opportunity for the body to inhale too much CO2, causing for stitches that will hinder performance, giving an advantage to the younger generation who will have a larger tidal volume and a stronger respiratory system. A common finding amongst studies is that the older generation demonstrates a delay core temperature, causing for a sweating and a reduction in evaporative heat loss due to the lower overall sweat rate compared to their younger health counterparts. This can cause issues during a performance, as the older people are more likely to overheat when exercising, especially in hotter conditions. The younger generation will be able to more comfortably exercise in hotter conditions, and they will be supported by more sweat to cool them down. A sporting example of this would be the South Africa World Cup. A naturally hot place near the equator would have had a huge influence on individuals' performances, which is why the younger teams found it easier to perform better. This is supported with one of the youngest teams being the Spanish team, who in fact won for the first time for their country in the history of the World Cup.